Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Dialogue. I'm TAIMUR SHAMIL. Quaid-e-Azam, in his very famous speech on 11th of August 1947, said that Pakistan is for all, and all the people in Pakistan, irrespective of their caste or creed, they are free to go to their mosques, they are free to go to their temples or any of their worship places. That is what Quaid-e-Azam envisioned of Pakistan, a peaceful country, a state where everybody, irrespective of his caste or creed, would be given equal opportunity to progress in life, to prosper in life. And many years on, now we see that Pakistan is progressing day by day. Day by day we are improving. We have improved our economy, we have improved our security situation. But at the moment what we need is peace and tolerance. That is what Pakistan at the moment is also striving for. We have been fighting extremists and terrorists for the last 15 years or so, and we have been fighting them successfully. At the moment, what we want is, what is most crucial is that we want peace and stability, and we want every Pakistani to be secure in Pakistan. Let it be a Hindu, a Christian, a Parsi, a Sikh, a Muslim, whoever. All need to be secure, all need to be prosperous and progressive as well. And for that, we have to give them equal opportunity. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, a couple of days back, inaugurated the restoration work of Hindu temples at Katasraj, and he made a speech in which he said that we need to build a positive narrative of our country. We need to also make people understand what true Islam is, what our religion teaches us. Our religion certainly teaches us peace and tolerance, and also how to coexist with other people of other faith. Today we are going to discuss about Prime Minister's speech at Katasraj, also what Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah envisioned of Pakistan. What did he think of Pakistan? What he wanted Pakistan to become? A state certainly where everybody would live with peace and with harmony. We are going to discuss about interfaith dialogue, interfaith harmony, and how different people in Pakistan with different faiths, with different religions, with different orientations live in Pakistan. What are their experiences and how do they see Pakistan? We are going to discuss about all that, and for that we have our guest in the studios. Our first guest is Mr. Rajkumar. He is a social activist from Sindh. Rajkumar, welcome to the program.
Thank you for
Our second guest is Dr. Amineh Hoti. She is a peace builder, a renowned educationist, and she has been lecturing in leading universities in Europe and in America as well. Welcome to the program, Dr. Amineh.
Thank you.
Rajkumar, starting with this recently, what Prime Minister said at Katasraj temples, he was there, he inaugurated the restoration work at Katasraj. He said that we need to have a narrative, a peaceful narrative of Pakistan. He went to Katasraj at the temples, inaugurated the work. How do you see it for the community? How is the Hindu community looking at this gesture of Prime Minister and the message?
So yeah, of course, that was a good gesture by our Prime Minister. You know what he said, that we this country belongs to Muslims, Christians, and this country is equally belongs to everyone living on the soil. So of course, I think this is a good gesture, and I believe that all issues will be resolved if the state start owning every person who's living in this country. Either it's a Christian, Hindu, Muslim, or belongs from any other caste. If the day is the whole state owning the people, I think our lots of issues will be resolved and peace will prevail.
And Dr. Amineh, this is I think the spirit that we need in Pakistan, irrespective of our caste or creed. What Quaid-e-Azam envisions, you have been working on Quaid-e-Azam, you have been teaching in various schools and universities. What was Jinnah Saab's vision of Pakistan? What did he think of Pakistan to become as a state?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much, Taimur, for discussing this very important and burning issue. It is an issue that is not only raised by the Prime Minister rightly in Pakistan, but it is an issue that is discussed now globally. In fact, just 2 or 3 months ago, the President Obama had a meeting. It was called the President's Interfaith Challenge at the White House. I was privileged to be one of the academics invited from Pakistan to join that. And there are many other initiatives globally. There's another conference coming up in London on this topic. So it's a global issue. But I'm delighted that Pakistan too in Pakistan. The Prime Minister is discussing it. And it is one that will change the narrative for Pakistan. Because at the moment, the key issue is Pakistan's image. And Pakistan itself has a fantastic foundation. Our constitution is about equality. Quaid-e-Azam's vision was about acceptance and tolerance and including everybody, all the citizens of Pakistan. And that is also a universal message which we need to emphasize and bring to the fore.
Right. And Rajkumar, coming from Sindh, from the Hindu community, you are doing otherwise excellent. I have seen you personally. How is the experience from Sindh then to Islamabad? You're also working with the project called Diya. What is the idea of that? And how do you see Pakistan in the next 5 years?
Well, coming from Umarkot, a small town of Umarkot, which is Pakistan's only district which is Hindu majority. And of course, when I came to Islamabad, like my name was not, so adjustable here. So people were not so familiar with the name I have, even my professors. So there were ignorance as well. But I believe that coming from a town where we live together, we celebrate Eid al-Azha together, we celebrate Eid al-Fitr together. They come over our place to celebrate Holi and Diwali. So I have experienced myself that there is a coexistence in peace back in my town. It's very same here. So, but not just because Hindus are very less in the population, but I have seen the people here in Islamabad and here in Rawalpindi that if you are a Hindu, they treat you like a golden duck. Because they just want to, give you an impression that, we accept you, this soil belongs to you equally, and I always, treated as one of their own, with love, with care, with kindness, with like love. So that's one of thing actually. And the other project, the project actually I'm doing right now, there's a project I recently did, it's called Diya project. The project is from the White House. They have this office of the Legion of Global Affairs. The project is going all over the world. And of course, as Dr. Sahaba said, peace and interfaith harmony, it's a global issue and it's a burning issue. So that startup or that initiative is from the White House. So I was leading one of the project in Islamabad. The project, the main essence of the project was to bring students, young people from different faiths, from different communities, either coming from different economic background, so that they can come together and work together. Right. That's
Dr. Amineh, talking about this whole interfaith harmony, interfaith dialogue. This is a very positive thing. Prime Minister mentioned something in his speech, and that is the interpretation, let's say, of Islam. What can we do to better understand our religion, better understand Islam, and also to understand other religions that are here in Pakistan? Hindu religion is one of the oldest religions in the subcontinent, rather in the world, I would say. We have great religions like Hinduism, Christianity. We have Parsis here, Zoroastrians and Muslims. How do you see this whole ethnicity, this diversity?
Well, that's a very important question, and in fact, there are many questions packed in that one question. So I would step back and go back to Islam. Who is the God of Islam? He is Rahman, He is Rahim. He's compassionate, He is merciful. He's reaching out. His compassion encompasses all of the world, the universes. It's not just this world, but it's all the universes that exist. So His love and His mercy, His compassion is much more than our human understanding. That's the first point. Then who is the Prophet of Islam? He's Rahmat al-Alameen. He's mercy unto all of mankind, not just Muslims or not just a certain sect or not just to Pathans or to one little group, but to everybody in the universe. And that is a key, that's the core of Islam. But then if you look at ideas or points of history, there's also been fantastic examples of tolerance. For example, in Al-Andalus in Spain, where Muslims, Christians, Jews lived together. And why did those societies prosper? Because there was respect for other people, of all of humanity. So respect for all of humanity, respect for knowledge. When these two things are combined, you get a fantastic society, which is progressive, which is based on ideas of peace, which is based on ideas of respect for all human beings. So that is the key. And yes, we have to. Our own religion tells us, Islam tells us, and all the religions talk about peace and tolerance.
But there's
at their
another
core.
point. Many people say that we also need to, we are teaching Islamiyat to our children in schools. We also need to teach them Diniyat as well, about other religions as well. As I said, Hinduism, Christianity, and Zoroastrianism. We need to learn about these great religions as well, so that we can make our next generation, let's say, more peace-loving, more tolerant, also understanding the perspective of other people.
Yes. I think the first very important point, Taimur, to emphasize is how many of us have actually read the Quran. That's the first point, and that's a real, genuine point, because the Quran is in Arabic, and it is like an ocean. It is so vast and so deep. And how many times do we read it? Every time we read it, its interpretation is much deeper and much more meaningful. And so we have to understand our own religion very well, which tells us to think, to use our knowledge, to use our reasoning. And within that, then you encompass all other humanity, God's creatures, to the point of acknowledging and respecting plants, let alone human beings who are our brothers and our fellow people, and who we must show love and compassion to. But even animals and even plants we must respect. And we've lost that. So we need to first step back and find out what our Quran Sharif is telling us.
So we have to go back to the scriptures, and not just Quran, Rajkumar, for that matter. We should also be reading Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, and these great books to know what Hinduism is all about, what Hinduism teaches us.
True.
What do you see when, let's say, you were in school in Umar Court? How do you see, let's say, our educational system? Do you think that we also need to teach these great religions as well?
Yeah, I think we need to revise our syllabus, because if I go back, I'm an APS student, I studied in APS, so Islamiyat was a compulsory subject for me. And thanks to the compulsion, because I got to know about an amazing religion that teaches peace. Because we have the stereotypes about every religion, People think that the Bhagavad Gita is only for people who are from India. There are a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes which we need to meet, actually. But of course, every religion teaches peace and harmony. So we need to revise our syllabus, so that if somebody who's interested, so we actually need to change the whole the conception, the perception of our young people as well. They don't want to read Hinduism because they don't they don't feel comfortable, maybe they don't want to read the Bible, Holy Bible as well. So I think we need to revise our syllabus. If I go back to my AP, so it was a compulsory subject for me, so I had no other choice.
Are we teaching, let's say, the Hinduism in schools of Umar Court schools or anywhere, let's say in Sindh? Is it?
No, not really.
So what do people do when they want to know about, let's say, Hinduism? Because if we want to know about Islam, we have, let's say, a couple of chapters, short chapters about Islam. So we have something like that?
Yeah, people reach out to individuals if they want to learn about the specific religion. If talk about, people come to me, those who are those who have interest in Hinduism, they walk to me and they always ask, tell us about Hinduism, what Hinduism is about. And then, there is no specific subject even for Hindus back in my town. So you have to read the Islamiyat or ethics. So there is no, you don't have a choice for that.
Right. Dr. Amineh, you were in Sindh a couple of days back. How was the experience? Because Sindh is a very vibrant place. We have Muslims over there, we have Hindus, we have Christians, people from all faith in Sindh. How was the experience, and did you meet people from other faith in Sindh? What do you tell us about Sindh?
Well, I was in Sindh, in Hyderabad, just a couple of days ago. Teaching the master trainers of a National Rural Support Network, which is one of the biggest development organizations in Pakistan. And it was fascinating because I was teaching a course and curriculum on peace building and diversity appreciation. But I also learned, while I was there, about Shah Abdul Latif Bhittai. Now, you see, he's one figure. He may be approaching his world through an Islamic framework, but within that, as I said, it's a universal idea. So everybody is accepted. So at his Mazar, which is not, again, this is a misnomer, that the idea of people go to worship the Mazar. They worship God, but they're inspired by this great, fantastic person who wrote beautiful stories in the voice of the female. So he wrote Sassi Pannu, he wrote Soni Mahiwal, he wrote all these fantastic stories.
This was revered by all, by Muslims, by Hindus as well.
And this was, Taimur, 300 years ago in Sindh. So you have a Sindhi male who understands and takes the perspective of a woman and the pain and the agony and the empathy. This concept of empathy, to step into someone else's shoes and see from their point of view, is fantastic. And if we can do this, this is really the alternative. This is the alternative to the hard line or the idea of not respecting the other.
But you just mentioned Shah Abdul Latif Bhai, one of my favorite Sufi poets. We also saw a couple of years back, Sufi shrines were attacked by the terrorists, by the extremists. Some of the worship places were also attacked. We're going to discuss about that as well, of how we are going to counter the narrative of extremism and terrorism. We are going to continue our discussion on interfaith dialogue, on harmony, of what Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah envisioned Pakistan, and also about Prime Minister's speech that he made at Qatar's large temples. After this break, stay with us.
The largest cultural activity in Pakistan is the annual National Folk Festival, Lok Mela, held in Islamabad in October each year.
Welcome back. We are discussing interfaith harmony and also how can we make Pakistan a more peaceful place. We have been fighting the terrorists, we have been fighting the extremism, we are fighting the extremism successfully, and we're also discussing about Prime Minister's speech at Qatar's Raj Temple. He said that Pakistan is for all and people are free to go to their worship places, they are free to go to their mosques and temples. Exactly what Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah said, and we are walking on Quaid-e-Azam's footsteps. Rajkumar, talking about religious harmony and peace building. Sufis, as Dr. Amineh was saying, they have done a lot in the society, and these are the people, Sufis, who have been trying to bring people of different faiths together. Shah Abdul Latif Bhai, Satsal Sarmast, these Sufis are from Sindh. You must have been reading these Sufis.
Yes. And
the interesting thing is that in Sindh, that I know I have been visiting, people from all faith, they go to their shrines, they visit their places, and they sing, they worship. What is the message of Sufis and how do you see Sufis?
So of course, I'm an avid reader of Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi. If we talk Sufi as an all, so of course there is a famous, my favorite quotations are lines from his poetry that I belong to no religion. My religion is love, and every heart is my temple. So that's what Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi said, and that's what every other Sufi said. They preach humanity. If I talk about, there was a chapter in syllabus when I was in 9th class. There was a poem by William Wordsworth that goes by the name of Abu bin Andam. There's a guy, if you remember the poem from 9th class.
My favorite, yeah.
Yeah, that's, humanity comes first. If we talk about Sufis, they are the one who are actually, the real practitioner of this humanity and Sufism. So yes, it's Sufism is one of the peace connector. People coming from different religions, they have, I think almost everybody have one thing in common. They are Sufi student, most of them. They somehow connect through Sufism. So that's what Sufi has been teaching us.
Yeah. Okay. Talking about Hinduism, Rajkumar, talking about the temples, I have visited a couple of temples in Rawalpindi as well. I've visited a couple of them in Karachi. Tell us about that. When you, let's say, the Hindu community or the members of Hindu community, they go to the temples, are they secure? How are they doing? And because these temples are not just worship places, these are monuments, cultural monuments. Tell us about that.
So yeah, of course, if we talk about temple as a whole, like a few days back, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, he has visited Katas Raj. That's actually a temple. When it comes to temple, especially a temple like Katas Raj, I believe that these are the national assets. These temples does not belong to Rajkumar or don't belong to Dr. Amineh. They belong to all of us. They just don't belong to Hinduism. These are the national assets and these belongs to all, of course. If I talk about Umarkot, yeah, we go to temple and there are many friends back here in Islamabad. They are always willing, they are very interested. They have been bugging me, take us to the temple. They have this interest to go there and experience the rituals of Hinduism.
And I have visited a couple of temples, and the people, the priests at the Hindu temples, they are very welcoming, very warm. They are. And I was really happy to meet them.
They are very, of course, if we talk about Panja Sahib, they welcome everybody. This is not for Sikhs. If you go with family, they allow you to come inside, go visit there. So these are the things which actually belongs to everybody, and I think this should be for every religious place. It should be for mosque. They should always be welcoming.
And I think every Pakistani should once visit all these worship places, mosques, temples, gurdwaras, churches. They should go there. Dr. Amineh, talking about this diversity, Panja Sahib is a beautiful place. I've been there. Sikhs come to this place of Guru Nanak, and Guru Nanak also taught oneness, unity, faith and love. What can we do to also project the diversity that we have in Pakistan? How can we represent our culture truly at the international platforms?
That's another very good question, Taimur. First of all, I'd like to go back to the idea of Sufism, because at some point we all meet. Within all these religions, you have people of compassion, people who are reaching out, people who are doing this work practically on the ground. They're teaching this as well. And that is when you approach, for example, Sufism. Again, it's a very misunderstood term, but it approaches religion through the idea of love. And this is not cheap love, but it is love as in accepting the world as it is and healing it, finding ways to be a blessing to the world, finding ways to reaching out to other people, whether the other person is a man or a woman or a child, or as I said, plants or animals, etc. So again, it's embracing humanity. That's a very important point. In terms of what we can do to project this, we, for example, started new courses at FC College. We've been teaching them at NUST University and at other universities in Pakistan. And the idea is to introduce this idea of peace building, diversity, empathy, especially to see from the point of view of the religious other, the ethnic other, the gendered other, and especially to fit in 1 or 2 field trips. So we visit, for example, a religious site of different faiths, and including our own faiths. We need to learn so much more. I'm a Pakistani, I'm a proud Pakistani, I'm from Swat. I have my father's from Karachi, so I have the 2 ends of Pakistan. And I love Pakistan because it's just so diverse. It's amazing. And every time I go to Lahore, I discover something new. Every time I went to Sindh, for example, I discovered Shah Abdul Latif Bhai, who was again universal in his love, reaching out to everybody. That's his key message. And that's the message of Rumi. That's the message of all people who want to, you know, embrace the other, embrace people who are different from us. Right. And similarly in Lahore, again, I discovered Mia Mir, who has a wonderful tomb, and he himself laid the cornerstone of in the Sikh temple in Amritsar. So again, imagine a Muslim reaching
Golden
out.
Temple, Amritsar. Right?
Bilkul, bilkul. So reaching out, and again, his disciple is Dara Shikoh. Dara Shikoh was the son of Emperor Shah Jahan, who built the Taj Mahal. And he himself has written a book called Majma al-Bahrain. And Rajkumar may know about this. You may have read this book, Rajkumar?
Which one?
Majma al-Bahrain. And this is the co-mingling of the two oceans. Now I want the audience to find out what the two oceans
are. Two great
are.
religions. Two great religions, Islam and Hinduism. Yes. And this book is, I would say, a milestone, I would say, in interfaith dialogue and interfaith harmony when we talk about this. Rajkumar, you meet young people, you yourself, you're a young man. Meeting young people, the new generation, how do they see Pakistan? And you said that many of your friends want to visit places, visit the Hindu temples in Rawalpindi and in Islamabad as well. Talking about the new generation, how do you see them? Are they curious about knowing, let's say, the others, other religions, other ethnicities?
I think going back to the last to last generation, they were very peaceful, you know. Like right now, my 99% friends are Muslims and Christians, you know. It has been 7 years I'm living in Islamabad, so almost because you know I'm a minority. If we talk about in numbers, so yes, there are many friends who are Muslims, and if I see them the driving force. Like they are very positive about the Pakistan. They keep saying that, you know, even I own this country equally, but they keep saying me, you have to own this country. I was like, okay, come on, this is my country as well. So they are very positive and they are very optimistic about the Jinnah's Pakistan, and they are actually seeing it nowadays. You know, like if we talk about the Christmas Eve, few days back in December, so there was a Christmas train which started from Peshawar. That was a very positive gesture. And if we talk about Hinduism, so yeah, last year Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and Bilal Bhutto, they celebrated the Holi with the Hindu community in Karachi, and then Imran Khan, he celebrated Diwali in Umarkot.
So we see a whole trend in politics as well. You know,
yes,
that politicians are also visiting these places, which is a very positive sign.
This is very positive. I think if they have actually realized that, you know, if this country has to prosper, has to grow, they have to take along all the minorities with them, because there's no other way around. If you want to give a good life to the upcoming generation, if you want to, you know, remove the negativities in the world, which world has about the Pakistan, you have to take care of your fellow minorities as well. Either it could be Ahmadiyya or whatever, but yes.
Dr. Amineh, as Rajkumar said, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif visited Sindh and he celebrated Holi with the Hindu community. This is a very powerful and strong message by a person who's holding an office, Prime Minister. When he visits, let's say, a community, when he takes a step, that is a precedent set by the Prime Minister. How do you see that the officials and Prime Minister himself celebrating Holi with the Hindu community? And also, I'll talk about the festivals of our country, but before that, the message by the Prime Minister when he visits the people.
Well, it's a very important message. It's a very important gesture. And again, it's Pakistani, it's in line with Quaid-e-Azam's vision, it's in line with a universal idea. And that's why I really appreciate the Prime Minister and Maryam Sharif for reaching out to the minorities, reaching out to communities, to fellow human beings within the country. But I would say, Taimur, that more needs to be done, realistically. We have to introduce courses like the ones we have introduced at FC College and other places in Pakistan. It's got to be a national effort, because this is our heritage, this is our identity. And we are richer By knowing other people, we are not less Muslims. We are not less of ourselves. We are more of ourselves by knowing other people. We become richer with knowledge when the more we study, the more we understand, the more we reflect. This is part of our religion, Islam, to think and expose.
Our culture,
yes.
Dr. Amineh. This is a very, I would say, an important point that I think we need to discuss, and that is what our culture is. I used to celebrate Basant, for that matter. My favorite, kite flying from Lahore. Kite flying is a must, and I used to enjoy it. We don't celebrate that festival anymore because of certain, let's say, points by some clerics, I would say. How do you see the culture of Pakistan? What is our culture? Do we need to have a debate on this as well? Because we are Christians, Hindus, Muslims, Zoroastrians, and we all bring some cultural traits with us. What is our culture?
Again, our culture is based on knowledge, and it should be based on knowledge. And anybody who is a religious leader must also be, fully qualified. He or she must have knowledge of the world, have knowledge of all the subjects, for example. In previous times, if you see Al-Andalus, scholars were not just simply scholars of one particular field. They were experts in the Quran, in the Hadith, in medicine, in
science,
in every field. And that's a wide vision of knowledge. So, for example, if you see today, if you look at the Archbishop of Canterbury, he's a religious scholar, but he's also a very learned scholar. If you look at the Chief Rabbi, he's a religious scholar, but he's also got 9 PhDs. Now, I'm not saying we should all have 9 PhDs because, some are honorary and some are very difficult, having done one with great difficulty. Right. But I do say that we must seek knowledge, because that is the basis of any solid, constructive society. And when we have knowledge, number one, of our own faith, because I went, Taimur Sahab, I'm also on this education foundation of one of these really good organizations, and I taught a couple of teachers, and I asked them, how many of you read the Constitution of Pakistan? And one person raised their hand. Then I asked, how many of you read the Quran Sharif? One person, and he was a male, not even one of the female teachers had to raise their hand.
So we need to learn more.
So we need to learn our basics.
Religion and culture.
We need to actually learn and open our minds to others. We have a clannish mentality. I've seen it not only in society, I've seen it in families, I've seen it in groups, Hindus, Muslim, even within a Pushtun, Punjabi. We need to get out of this egocentric, it's called egocentricity. When only me and my little world counts, and I pull a string around myself, widen that circle, and embrace others, and you'll see your world will open up. You'll see much more beauty, you'll see much more diversity, and you will produce more, you will reach more, you'll make more friends.
For that, certainly, we need to have a very conducive environment. We need our schools, colleges, and universities also to teach us about other religions and give us that conducive environment where we can, as you said, we can visit these temples and churches and mosques, Dr. Amineh. Talking about festivals, Rajkumar, I think that festivals keep the culture alive. We need to have festivals, we need to have more festivals in Pakistan. How do you see, let's say, different festivals? Holi is a wonderful festival.
Yes.
Eid al-Azha is a festival, Muslim festival, I would say. Then we have Basant, that is a common festival. What do you think about these, the different colorful festivals?
Of course, even if we talk about culture, first if I talk about the culture, I think culture is an amazing peace connector. If we talk about culture as a whole, culture includes your music, your food, your clothing. I think I may come from different region, you might come from different region, but we share the same food, right? I like chicken kadai, I'm sure you would like biryani. And if we talk about the culture as a peace connector in South Asia, I'll talk about Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan's ghazals, everybody like it. These are the peace connectors which actually connect us, which actually bridge up the gaps between the people of South Asia. Even in some time, like if I talk about Faisal Masjid, it's part of a culture as well. And it connects, it belongs to everybody. Talking about the festival, I'm sure everybody likes, Holi, because it's a very colorful festival. Yeah. And most of my friends, like since my college life, they always wanted to go and with me. I have even, like back in my university life, I took few of my friends to a holy festival in PNCA, which was actually organized by the Ministry of Interfaith Harmony in Islamabad. So these, and I used to buy clothes, new shoes on Eid al-Fitr, you know, because that was a totally a festival for me as well. So that if I go back in my childhood, if there's a festival which is coming up and it could be Eid al-Azha, Eid al-Fitr, I used to tell my dad that, you know, I need a cloth because Eid al-Fitr is coming up. So we actually celebrated all festivals together. Basant is a common, you know, festival which is for all. So yes, these are the peace connectors.
Right. Dr. Amineh, there's a whole confusion that surrounds the festivals as well, a whole debate, religious debate as well. What can we do to come out of this religious debate? To own our festivals, to own our culture?
Again, Taimur, it's a good question because I'd say, you know, we all, myself included and myself first, need this idea of humility. If we are humble, we are willing to learn. And when we're willing to learn, we step out of our comfort zone. And then we say, okay, yes, let me explore knowledge. Let me read about another culture. Let me read about the ideas of another culture. And there's so many in this wonderful world, and especially in Pakistan. Pakistan is such a rich and beautiful mosaic. It's just like, you know, one of those beautiful kalamkar shawls. And therefore, we need to also not just read, but also engage in cultural differences, in cultural festivities, and in all these wonderful events which I haven't been to. I haven't been to Holi or any of these, and I'd like to explore a little more.
It's a beautiful, beautiful festival.
Yes.
What role can clerics play? What role can scholars play? Imam Masjid can play in bringing peace and prosperity, because Imam Masjid, the one who's leading the prayers in a mosque, is, I would say, a strong person. He can build people's opinion. What role can our clerics, our scholars play?
Well, they can play a fantastic and a very important role. And they are, in fact, like a mother, like a father, like the teacher in society, technically. But they're not perfect, because no human being is perfect. Not even, you know, the prophets were perfect. But we have to really encourage this idea of knowledge, and again, understanding and humility. Because when we're learning in the path of God, we don't know. But we must be open to ideas of knowledge, and that will help us. So again, the courses that we have done are fantastic. You know, those are called Accepting Difference, they're called Teaching Acceptance. All those sort of textbooks which are available from Emel Publications, those are two textbooks which I would definitely recommend to scholars, to imams, to universities, to schools.
So have you involved the imams or the scholars so far? Have you been reaching out to them? Because this is a very important, I would say, an aspect, if we are reaching out to people for peace and harmony.
Well, I've been engaging with them in conferences, in talks, and I hope that we will be able to engage a little more in terms of a formal curriculum, because that is important, to sit down and begin to discuss and just talk and share some ideas.
Rajkumar, nowadays what we see is that, you know, we are divided in just, let's say, two different groups. I would say one group, and that is either you're anti-secular or anti-religious. There's anti-thing. We don't go out of our comfort zone, as Dr. Amineh was saying, to know about, let's say, the other perspective of other religions. There are people who might just be critical of, let's say, other religions, of other perspectives. We need to learn more. What do you think?
Of course, we do actually. Talking about the religion, you know, you don't have to be Islam-centric. You have to be like talking about Muhammad's religion, which is Islam. That is for all. That's not for someone. And being secular is not a bad thing as well, you know. Being secular is like you are accepting every other religion. You're open to actually learn more about different religions. Like anti-secular, those people who actually talk about being anti-secular,
anti-religious, I would say. Anti-religious, anti-religion.
They are either Hindu-centric, or these people are either Islam-centric or Christianity-centric. You know, people who are actually, you know, who believes that the God is like Rabbul Alameen. He does not belong to just Muslim. He does not belong to single, as Dr. Sahiba said, not to Pathan, not to Sindhi. He's Rabbul Alameen. He belongs to everybody.
To Muslims, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is Rahmatul Alameen.
True.
He is for the whole mankind, for the whole humankind, Dr. Amineh. There's this narrative of extremists and terrorists. We have been fighting notorious groups like TTP, Al-Qaeda, ETIM. What can we do to bring peace and stability, and what can we do to counter the narrative and the interpretation, let's say, of Islam, what these terrorists and extremists are projecting at the moment?
Well, again, as I said, Taimur, it's about knowledge, but more realistically and practically, you know, people on the periphery, they actually don't have the basic facilities. They don't have economic facilities. They don't have the luxury of food, of clothes, of education, of hospitals. So first of all, we have to, you know, when we say, oh, those people out there in the tribal areas, they're like this. That is wrong too, because we have to step in their shoes and say, look, they're having such a difficult life. What can we do to help? How many of us in Islamabad, how many of us in Karachi reach out to people in Waziristan, people in Swat, people who are in desperate need? We need to stop being egocentric and try to see from other people's perspective and say, look, how can we help? When we begin to connect bits of Pakistan from one end to another and we break down these walls, you know, we want to there's this big debate in America as well with, wall building or bridge building. Which one do you want to be? So in Pakistan too, once we begin to build bridges from one end to another, not actual bridges, but metaphoric bridges, as in reaching out, as in helping others, that's when change can happen. That's when, when the government also does more to not only think of the center of their own little area, but a more wider Pakistan, including, bits of KP, including Sindh, Balochistan, etc. That's when change will come.
State, certainly. The officials, they have to take responsibility, but also individually, we all, as Pakistanis, we have to take the responsibility of knowing other religions and also knowing our religion as well, our culture as well. Thank you for joining us. Rajkumar, thanks very much for joining us. Dr. Amineh, pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Today we discussed about peace and harmony, interfaith dialogue, and what can we do to bring peace and harmony in Pakistan. Pakistan is a land of diverse cultures, different religions, people from all faith live here in Pakistan. And Prime Minister's speech at Qatar, I would say, is a very important speech and also a very good step taken towards peace building. And in his speech, he mentioned that we also need to work on the interpretation of Islam, of understanding what our religion, Islam, teaches us, what other religions are, or what Hinduism is, what Christianity is, what Judaism is, what Zoroastrianism is. We need to work on that. We need our children to know about other religions as well and also know what their own religion is. These temples, mosques, churches are our monuments. This is our culture and we all should own this. Thank you for watching today's program. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz.